Hey everybody, I'm Zach and I like movies, and I'm back in the Spider-Verse shirt because I'm talking about Spider-Man Lotus. This is a now infamous Spider-Man fan film that has been bandied about and talked and hyped up for about a couple of months now. Now, I do like me a good fan film. I think it's good. I think it's fun to support independent creators who want to just create a mini blockbuster with nothing but $20 in a dream. And sometimes you can get some very creative results out of that. There was a Batman fan film I found a couple of years back called Puppet Master, which I thought was really, really good. You should check that out. There are a number of Star Wars shorts that are mostly just sort of proofs of concept, or they just showcase effects and lightsaber choreography, and all that's pretty cool. Plus, there's the various works by productions like Rocket Jump or Quarter Digital, and those are all impressive on their own feet. Well, Quarter Digital still is doing that like bullshit with the AI animation that sucks. But regardless, most of those only ever top like 30 minutes max. Very rarely, if at all, do we get a feature film. Especially when this project managed to raise like something like $100,000 and was getting boasted about by the creator as like as like the true Spider-Man experience. Then the controversies came. When it come out that Warden Wayne, the actor playing Spider-Man, as well as director Gavin Konop, there's no E. They both had a history of saying a lot of racist and homophobic stuff, like hard R and everything. Some they admitted to being faked, granted, but others they admitted to being real. This was when I first heard of the project, by the way, so that was a fun first impression. And even it got so bad that. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes because there's actually a couple of controversies to keep straight. It got so bad that the VFX artists left the project like a couple of months ago, and even recently as like 2 days ago, it had one of the producers who also plays the Green Goblin in this has been alleged to have groomed an underage student. So needless to say, when Lotus finally dropped 2 days ago, it got a lot of buzz on the internet, but not for the reasons you ever want to have buzz on the internet. But even putting all of that aside, Spider-Man Lotus just does not stand on its own 2 feet. This is not good. This is not a good fan film. This is not one of those diamonds in the rough. This is a horribly, first of all, this has no business being 2 hours long. Absolutely nothing. Nothing in here justifies this length. The material here could probably top out at like 40 minutes max. And it's worse, like the absolute worst aspect of this is that this is some of the worst pacing I've ever seen. Like, not even in like the macro sense of like scene to scene, but even also moment to moment. Like, there's like establishing shots that go on for like 20 seconds when you really can just need to do it for like 5. It's God. It's gonna. I'm winding up repeating myself because the plotting and the pacing is just so aggravating. It's just it makes it such a slog to get through. And like even the characterization isn't all that great. Okay, so Lotus is doing the story of Gwen Stacy died and Peter dealt with the Goblin and he's like mourning it and he's retired. He doesn't want to do Spider-Man anymore. And the way they characterize Peter here is really the apex of all of those fans who want like depressed, edgy Peter Parker, where he's just like a miserable asshole and uses his friends as emotional punching bags. Because they think that like being moody and angry is what makes it mature and adult and not unlikable at all. It doesn't, and like and yeah, he's like bitter and he's upset because he's grieving death, but it never comes off as like it never comes off as someone who's relating to also grieving death. It feels like they read a graphic novel about grieving death. Not to say that you need the experience of that, but like you could tell that it's so forced on it. And like it's really weird where you have like where fans want Peter Parker. Yeah, he's a down on his luck loser all the time, but that's what endears him to us. But he's not like bitter, you know? He's not he's not moody. He's not an asshole. This Peter is kind of is really kind of a dick. There's not a whole lot likable to him. Like even God, and like it's not that Warden Wayne really it's not that Warden's performance really brings up the material. He's really kind of stiff. He kind of, and like again, this is a fan film, but also it really tries to be taken seriously as a movie too. So like his performance is really stiff and wooden, and he's trying his hardest, but he also feels like you want Ansel Elgort, but he's the Ansel Elgort you have at home. Man, and like again, like the pacing is so rough. It's so roughshod. Like 30 minutes in, 30 minutes, you get this scene where Peter's looking at this video of like all the good times he spent with Gwen, with Harry, and with MJ, and like they're like, oh, they're going on dates, they're hanging out and having fun, and like this song is playing, and it's so just begs you. It begs so much of you to just please be emotional, be sad. It's like you might as well have just queued up Evanescence. No, this is Gen Z. Cue up XXX Tentacion. That's what this sort of feels like. And like, and even from that scene, which actually builds up, like the music crescendos out, and then that doesn't end there. It then transitions, or at least cuts to black, and comes back to Harry just moping around New York to the sounds of a Radiohead song. And then that doesn't really resolve to anything. That doesn't go anywhere. The camera just swings back up to see Spider-Man brooding on the bridge. Like, if you're gonna go out of your way to have a cover of Radiohead, exit music from a film, mind you, it feels like they just did it because they could. And like, frankly, a lot of this movie, watching it play out, feels like they wanted to use every idea and didn't want to cut anything out. So you get a lot of these scenes of like Mary Jane talking with Flash, or Mary Jane talking with Harry, and they don't add anything. They just pad out the time. Like they're trying to give characterization of like, oh, but like it's just repetitive. It just doesn't add anything new. It's like, what does it do? Oh, Mary Jane is sad about Gwen dying, and Peter's being moody, or Peter's sad about Gwen dead, and Peter's moody, or it's Harry being mad that both Gwen's dead and his dad's dead, and also he's also kind of doing his own stuff. Maybe they were like teasing about him being the Goblin next, but I don't know. And it all comes off so try-hard. It's so trite. And I don't want to be too mean to the production design or any of the production, or even too much of how it looks. Because honestly, there's some of the effects that look good. There's like 2 or 3 shots of like Spider-Man swinging around that look pretty good for a fan film. And the FX team even made a video and they posted about it when they left the project. And yeah, they seem like really talented artists. I hope they have a future in effects production when they aren't super overworked. But for the money they raised, they really should have been able to find themselves a decent cinematographer, or maybe a gaffer. Everything is like shot in the dark. All the shot compositions, all the shadows are so bland. They're so uninspired. They feel so flat. they don't really communicate like a vision outside of just be serious. And that's kind of what this whole thing feels like. And like back up to like Peter brooding on the bridge in the Spider-Man suit. You get the extensive flashback scene of Gwen dying, Peter fighting the Goblin that you don't need. You already alluded to it in the opening credits, which actually are kind of nice. They feel like an homage to the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, where they tell the story they kind of tell the story of the movie through these like almost comic still photographs. It's kind of nice, and it just you just don't need it. We already know what he's feeling. We already know for a fact that he is grieving and he is angry at himself and at Goblin. But you do not need a scene. You don't need a flashback of Peter fighting Party City Green Goblin. You just don't. The point has been well established. Oh, God. And also, I don't really like even seeing him in the spider suit at this point. Because what they're trying to do is like, Peter suffered this great loss, and he doesn't feel like he can keep doing Spider-Man, so he gives up being Spider-Man, he retires. And so, typically, him getting back in the suit is sort of where the emotional climax of that resolves. And to be fair, the idea of what they're doing with in this one is a sound idea, but like even like seeing him in the suit really cuts through the dramatic tension of where they placed it in the film. And like again, God, like it's just I'm trying to keep my thoughts straight, but I was just so stunningly bored. But regardless, they finally get to the big emotional crux of this film, where the real purpose this movie was about. It's Peter's first act as Spider-Man, where he answers the call that was seated to him at the beginning of the film, where he visits a 10-year-old Spider-Man superfan. That's a decent idea. And hey, there's plenty of drama and even humor to found out of that. Maybe the kid will say something innocently profound and that really sticks with Peter and and really helps pull him out of his slump. And hey, that'd be corny as hell, but hey, what's Spider-Man without a big slice of Spidey cheese? You know what's not a big slice of Spidey cheese? Spider-Man trauma dumping on a 10-year-old with cancer. That happens. That actually tells his whole origin story and everything. And if you think the dialogue in this scene will even save this a fraction of what I just told you, you're sadly mistaken. Because, and like the music choices, it tries so damn hard, so try hard to really sell this mature moments. It's like, but you're a hero who saved all those people. Yeah. But how many others suffered because of it? Much sad, very emotion, yes mature, many profound. You did good. This is the real Spider-Man. God. I can't. It's like the whole movie is like that. It's just this scene after scene after scene of this maudlin melodrama in place of anything fun. It really does feel like it was written by a teenager who thinks that Man of Steel is a great interpretation of Superman. Which actually brings me to Gavin's inspirations for Lotus that he has on a letterbox. And it does include Spider-Man 2 and The Amazing Spider-Man. Not the strongest Spider-Man, in my opinion, but anyway. And also it does include Man of Steel, as well as the Before trilogy. Okay. I want some humanity and levity in that. I get it. 500 Days of Summer. seems to really miss the point of that. We bought a zoo? And shame. Shame. As in, a film by Steve McQueen, Shame. The movie where Michael Fassbender plays a sex addict and he hangs out his massive hog on camera. I mean, I'm not saying we needed to see the Spider-Man's Dane, but I'll leave it at that. That's it wouldn't have helped. It wouldn't have saved anything. Maybe it would have spiced things up a bit because, my God, this is so boring and so trodden and so it's so repetitive. I really hope I'm not repeating myself here, but it's really hard not to. I can't emphasize enough how repetitive and boring this is. This is such a chore to sit through. Like, Lotus is a prime example of what goes wrong with a lot of these kinds of fan films. Like, again, I'm all for supporting these like independent creatives, but they tend to bite off a lot more than they can chew before they can even light a scene, let alone put together a feature film. Like again, this is really not well lit. This is really poorly shot. Like, the costumes are okay for what they are, but like, it looks like a porn parody is a very charged word, but I don't think that's accurate. It doesn't look like a porn parody. It looks like a Spider-Man film by way of early seasons of Riverdale. That's more accurate, I think. But yeah, it just, the worst part about it is, beyond just the terrible pacing, the repetitive scenes, the plotting storyline, the flat acting, the terrible lighting, the mediocre costumes. It just reeks of this spiteful fan arrogance that I see a lot on like Reddit and in many fan circles. It doesn't feel like a labor of love for the character. It feels like it was born out of the thought of, I could do better than that. Not I want to give this a shot too. It feels like Gavin just wanted to make his true version of Spider-Man, but didn't really bring together the talent or really had any much forethought beyond that. It just, I know what's Spider-Man. I know Spider-Man better than you do. But, I mean, again, controversies aside, this isn't anything worth really celebrating outside of just the sheer ambition of what it tries to be. I can see what it's trying to do, and it fails at that. It fails in so many ways. It isn't really worth any. It's not even like a fun bad. It's just a boring bad. It's, man, like, I would have hoped that, like, it would have been more of a fun train wreck, especially knowing the controversies of what happened behind the scenes. But man, it's so unimpressive. It's thunderously boring. It's poorly shot, horribly paced. Like, I was nodding off so many times. I was barely 45 minutes into it, and I just wanted to give up. But I kept on. It's not worth your time. I would not even recommend watching it just to laugh at it. There's like maybe 2 scenes that are like pretty hilarious. Some of the effects, like him swinging around, those were well done. But yeah, not a lot positive things to say about this. I am feeling a 1 out of 10 for this. It's not good. So yeah, what did you think? What did you think of Spider-Man Lotus? Do you think that you could do better than that. I'm sure you could, possibly. Um, so yeah, comment, like, subscribe, share this video. I hope to have more in the future. And here's here's hoping I find a better fan film I can recommend. Definitely check out Puppet Master. I'll link that in the description. And yeah, that's kind of it. It's kind of all I have to say about Lotus. This was a real waste of time. I don't think this was definitely not worth the money. Definitely should have been shorter. Definitely should have been less bitter. Yeah, yeah, that's it. I'm just rambling now. So, yeah. Well, I'm Zach. I like movies, and I hope you do too. And I will see you.